Hello and welcome to Irish Football Fan TV. We are here for the final word. It is Republic of Ireland nil, England 2, or you could say Republic of Ireland 2, England nil with two own goals, whatever way you want to look at it. But we know that the two people that we didn't want to have a good day yesterday had a really good day, and we are obviously not happy about it. But I'm joined by Jer. You were obviously at the match. We'll get straight in, just go straight into the lineup, Jer. I suppose. What were your thoughts when you saw the lineup, and how much time did you have before kickoff seeing the lineup?
We were actually pretty on the ball. We were in two of us mates of ours were in the storyteller there, kind of Grand Canal. I think the teams get released now like an hour and a half, an hour and a quarter before kickoff. And we pretty much had it straight away. There's always a few lads that are very eager to get the lineups as soon as they're released. Like to be honest, probably wasn't too far away from kind of what we were kind of expecting, what we were talking about on the preview on what night was the preview? Thursday night. Wasn't the best encouraged to see looked like another back five again, which didn't really work at all that well, particularly under Stephen Kenny reign. Seeing Robbie Brady, who it's kind of fair to say, particularly in a role like that, and maybe in general, he's kind of best days are kind of behind him. I know he's had a bit of football in his belt this season with Preston. Midfield, we always knew was going to be a slight concern for us because the squad was even thin in terms of options and availability in midfield. But if it wasn't really the best setup, and just to go so light in midfield for just two to try and cover a team with that attacking quality, but I think in terms of everyone else, we kind of expected toss for coin between Adam Eden and Parrott for the starting position. I think I went for Parrott, but I think yourself and Tom said Eden. Like it was genuinely like a toss up, but like obviously the main thing we want to kind of see was Smollett start or Benny start, these type of players, which you expected. So look, the starting team was kind of like probably going into the game, we're kind of like not great, but look, it's kind of knew what you expected. But just in general, like I wasn't at the France game last year. Now the one we only lost 1-0. But I could pick up the vibe when I was watching it that it seemed like a great buzz and great atmosphere from talking to people. You felt like the fans could feed off that, and you did kind of believe you could kind of get that blind optimism. It just never felt like that generation even before the game yesterday. It felt like everything was perfect for 5 p.m. kickoff on Saturday. There was a good buzz, the weather was class, everyone was in a good mood. But for some reason, just even when I went into the stadium, I got into the stadium from around 20 to 5, just never really got the feeling like, oh, it feels like an upset on the card, say that the crowd is buying into it. Just like even just never really kind of get the feeling that I can get this blind sense of optimism. We might pull something, and even the starting line has probably kind of fed into that a little bit too.
Did you not think that I thought the atmosphere was the best I've seen probably since the channel's inception? To be honest with you, the Denmark
I don't
game
think
when we
that.
lost 5-1 was probably
Yeah,
the only game where I can think of where the atmosphere was as good as that. I thought honestly, I thought the crowd were really gonna get us going, and I thought that kind of fed into the start of the game. I remember the first 2 minutes we had that chance with Malumbi and he heads over, but like he also was fighting with Grealish just before that corner, and Robbie Brady puts in that ball, great ball, and Malumbi should make it 1-0 but doesn't. But it was from there, and the crowd really got up from that corner, and then that quickly fizzled out because in the 10th minute then, after all the boos for Rice and Grealish, more so Rice obviously, we go down the other end, and the warning signs and the danger signs were there with that ball by Trent through to Anthony Gordon. Kelleher makes a great save. The ball comes back across to Harry Kane, and Nathan Collins makes a brilliant block, but then there's nobody there, and that kind of falls into what you were saying about midfielders. Malumbi was kind of caught in the hop with that one, and it falls to the one person that you don't want it to fall to, and that really, I think if anybody else scores, I don't think that happens. I think it's just the fact that the person who did scored. The stadium, other than the England fan, went absolutely silent. And then you knew once we went 1-0 down, there was never going to be any coming back from it.
yeah, it's like what I was saying on the channel for the preview. Is that like you kind of at least wanted at least a similar situation to the France game where you kind of want to kind of be going into the second half time, or the dying embers of the game, still kind of feeling like you're alive, like to go 1-0 down, as you said, like inside the first quarter of an hour, like just felt like literally kicking the man in the balls and he was down already, that kind of way. Like it just kind of felt no optimism. And also, obviously, you make reference to Malumbi's chance from the header, but just before that as well, we had a really good chance where we broke as well, and Smollett's got a decent shot away, and then obviously the rebound comes to Chidozie Ogbeni. Like he, even the mission his post match intro afterwards, when he got the man of the match award, that he probably was trying to look for like the perfect finish. That's why he took a couple of touches where he should have just fizzed across the face of goal. I know he wasn't at a great angle, but like you never know what could have happened. It could have taken a ricochet. It could have gone into the net. It could have gone out for a corner. Like that's how we got the first corner that Malumbi had that chance from Brady. I think it was just an aimless ball into the box, out of control. But like, you never know what could happen that kind of way. But like the goal to give away, the warning signs were there straight away. Like Trent, like we all know from watching week in week out with Liverpool, like how good he can be when he's given time. Like look, let's give credit true. It was an unbelievable pass, but like we were so exposed. Like it's worrying that like when Gordon gets the shot off, which he should score, Keller makes a good save. But not only does he get the rebound, but like there's no one even there to challenge him. He comfortably got the ball. He was able to have loads of time to square it back to like Nathan Collins. We were so exposed. We had to no cover back, as you said. Probably goes back to being light in midfield. That one or two of our midfielders got a little bit caught out. Our wing backs, full backs were so far pushed up that we were so exposed. Again, you think brilliant, like Collins makes a brilliant block. I think for you, we've got away with it again, but no, it just falls perfectly, pretty much on the centre of the penalty spot to Declan Rice. It was a look again. Credit to nothing Creevy Keller could do about it. He absolutely put in the top bin, loads of power from that distance. And to be honest as well, like even in terms of the stadium going quiet and him, like obviously, look, he's given his reasons afterwards for family reasons why he didn't celebrate. Look, as we'll get to later with the second goal, look, you fucked up, you screwed us over. No one likes you. We're not going to have respect for you. Grow a pair of balls and just own the celebration a bit like what Grealish did. Like,
Yeah, I thought it was a bit strange myself when I saw him not celebrate, but
yeah, it's not like the West Ham situation last year where he scored for Arsenal, where he's really good terms with West Ham fans and stuff like that. Like, he probably got a little bit of stick in that game, but in general, majority of West Ham fans like him. 99% of the Irish public or Irish football fans hate you and don't respect your opinion. So like, it's not like you're kind of like, oh, do you know what? We'll let him off a little bit for that. Like, no, like we probably actually even think less, you know, that you didn't at least be a man about it. Look, and like not that Grealish really rubs in, but at least he had his moment with his fans because he cared. You kind of think like, right, just look, for feck's sake, like no one really, like it's not like we're going to have respect for you, like.
yeah, well, look, obviously we were 1-0 down at that point, but I didn't see any way of getting back from that point, and yeah, we were just kind of same old Ireland, in my opinion. I thought what Damien Delaney said was quite interesting on Virgin, where he said basically if you're playing in a team and you're trying to get numerical advantages by playing a back three or back five, you're already losing that numerical advantage by allowing England to have the midfield there. So he was saying, and I thought I agreed with him, is that we should have had an extra midfielder in there and gone with a back four. And I think that would have given us way more balance in there, because England were able to kind of dictate the midfield. Grealish was allowed to do whatever he wanted. I mean the possession was like ridiculous. At one stage, I think it was 88-12, but it finished 29% to 71% in England's favour. They had 16 attempts and we had 6. The passing accuracy was 90%, ours was 69%. They completed 637 passes, we completed 147. And I think these types of things, and we attempted 212, they attempted 710. So I think there's a massive gulf there. And I think that showed. And I went down to get some food for just before the second goal was scored, and as I was coming up, I saw the play, and it was Mainu to Royce, Saka to Royce. Again, he puts it across to Grealish, but again, slower closing down in the box. A lot of people complain about Matt Doherty's body language, especially when he kind of goes in for the challenge, or he goes in to try to challenge, but he just kind of turns his back, and then just kind of, you don't see any disappointment. He's just kind of like, oh well, we conceded. It's just there was no reaction from it, and they're all kind of looking at each other going like, you're supposed to be here. Nobody seemed to know what they were doing. That's the frustrating thing. Nobody literally knew, or nobody looked like they knew what was going on tactically as well. And the fact of the matter is, if you watch the game, especially on TV or watched it back, Paddy McCarthy and John O'Shea seem to be the people who are doing everything that the manager should be doing. And then so it's just it's all a bit of a hullabaloo, really.
Yeah, it's kind of like my worst fears with this when this whole managerial saga dragged out like beyond the four friendly games back in March and June. Kind of came to my worst fears, Jesse, because when that draw was made last February, I was like, right, England up first. If we have any chance again, any form of result, and put up any bit of an upset, like we need to have someone in who's familiar with the players, who's worked with the players. We'll have them 4 games between the 2 in March and 2 in June. And the longer the process went on, like you knew you were going to have a scenario situation like this where the manager comes in and he literally just has that week, then 3 or 4 days to work with the players. I know obviously yeah, John O'Shea there, Paddy McCarthy were involved in the windows, but like they're not the main men. This is Heiger is meant to be Eimer is meant to be the main man, and like I said, it just looked like it just looked like it's everything that we kind of expected came across. That like he's still getting to know the players, he's still not familiar. It wasn't kind of like the setup that we expected we're going to see from him. Probably kind of going on from the October window onwards when he kind of gets his stamp mark on the team. And like as you said, like as what Damien Delaney was saying, and just listened to a little bit, was just traveling around today. I was just listening to Radio 1, and Alan Cawley was just echoing the same words as what you said there about Damien Delaney. Like the midfield was just so light. It was just such a naive thing to set up, to leave your midfield so thin bed against like a team with that quality of England and stuff like that. And like as you said, like when it was tactical in the sense like we just kind of stood off England a little bit because we were afraid that if we kind of pressed up and got sucked in because of how technically gifted they are, that they could just pull off the quick sharp 1-2s, get in behind us, and just suddenly there's space and lack of bodies where maybe it was a case of like just stand off, keep shape and try and make it hard for them. But as you said, like no one still kind of really know what to do. Like I think I made reference to it as well on Thursday that like particularly for the likes of our, if we're going to go with the back five, particularly for our wing backs, we need other players to kind of double up for the likes of Brady and Doherty or Coleman, whoever it's going to be, because they're not the youngest, they're not the quickest and the sharpest. And like, look, I won't criticise Seamus Coleman because he got a couple of good blocks in and still tried his hardest. But like, there's no question about like England really targeted that side with Anthony Gordon, and he did get badly skinned quite a lot. Like it could have, it really, like I said, apart from a little bit of last pitch defending, goalkeeper from Creevy and Keller, like it could have easily been 3 or 4 by half time. I also do think that once England got to the second goal, they're like, right, that's it. Any potential fear of an upset here of us just having a 1-0 lead and they might pull us back in. Like they're not going to score 2. We're grand, we're fine. We can just dictate the game on our terms, and that's pretty much what proceeded for us till the final whistle went in the 95th minute.
Yeah, well, I suppose I was going to get you to ask, or I was going to ask you about your half-time thoughts, because you would have imagined that you would have thought something would have changed, one sub at the very least, and there was nothing. I was so surprised. As I said, I'd gone down, I got some food, and as I was coming back up, Grealish made it 2-0, and he was off celebrating or whatever, which I had a feeling he would celebrate anyway. And look, he's playing for... I had no issue with Grealish anyway. In my opinion, he was English either way, so like the fact he celebrated is not a big deal for me. I literally don't care. The other fella, I have no time for him whatsoever, no respect for him. I don't know how any Irish football fan could have a respect for him, or would not have some sort of ill feelings towards him. I think the only people that would do that are Arsenal fans who are pretending like they're okay with it because he plays for Arsenal. But otherwise, I just don't see why anybody would be in any way nice to him or anything like that, or have any good things to say about him. I just think it's bizarre, really. And that's not to say you can't just go around hating players for the sake of it, but I just don't get the whole love in for him, really, when what he's done is totally inexcusable, as I said the other night, but I'm not going to get into it now. But half-time, you were surely thinking something here has to change. Like, I was baffled when they came out for the second half and nothing changed.
To be honest, I genuinely thought Adam Mead was going to get taken off at half time. Like, look, it's a thankless job playing up top in this scenario situation where you're not going to, your back's going to be to the goal a lot, and it's more often not going to be from the halfway line, and you're not going to get many chances off. But the one thing you would expect in this type of situation, and we've always been good with strikers in this situation, is go and compete and win the 50-50 balls and jump and make life a nightmare for centre backs. Like, I don't want to be critical of a player, but Adam Eden looked frightened to go and jump for a ball yesterday and get involved and get stuck. And like, for someone to, you look at him like from an outside point of view, like I know he's not particularly the oldest, but he's not a kid anymore, and he's got a good physical stature about him. But like, that's the same with the Portugal game. He looks a little bit frightened. He gets bullied kind of too easy. So I'm surprised to see him come back out for yesterday. Now, look, I'm not saying it's his kind of blame. But like same time, you're kind of like, right, we need to change something, and it's just looking like here's someone who's not really like, I don't want to say not trying to like, but I'm like, doesn't really seem to be really kind of want to be out there. Like you could have said the same
Robbie
for,
Brady had a go at him a few times for not making the run up the
yeah,
line. I saw that a few times. He
yeah, and
was
like as you said,
snapping at him.
Doherty again, like just a typical kind of body line. Like again, like I don't want to go bashing players, and you have to be careful around a fan channel and stuff like that. But like I am staggered how Matt Doherty is still playing Premier League football with just the way his attitude. Like I didn't see the Wolves Chelsea game. I was chatting to someone yesterday who watched the whole game, and he just said he was just like as you were on about yesterday, like just jogging around like casual. Like, oh, sure, look, so what? Like they're a better team. So what can I do? It's just kind of like I just don't get it like that kind of way. Like again, it was plainly obvious to see for yesterday. Like at least with like, as you said, like with Brady, he mightn't even had the best of time out on the pitch. Like, well, obviously, maybe it might have helped with the setup, but like at least you could see he was trying to care a little bit and stuff like that. Like Malumbi, we talk about like not getting stuck in and letting the English players know about it, but at least he was doing a little bit of that. Smallocks, I thought, in fairness, he covered a lot of ground, tracked back. He made actually a couple of good interceptions, stuff like that. Like, got himself around, looked like he was kind of invested and kind of cared. As I said with Coleman, yes, he was getting a tough time, but again, it wasn't through a lack of interest. Thought Collins obviously
I
wasn't.
don't think Coleman had as bad as the game as you're making out. He's not a centre
No,
half.
I don't think he particularly had it, but I did obviously think that because of Anthony Gordon, because of the superior pace and age, he obviously got kind of skinned a little bit. But like at the same time, like he still stood his ground a little bit and stuff like that, and like
I think it would
tried
have.
to show him a lot.
I think it would have suited Coleman more if he was playing in the back four and he was the right back
Oh
like he
yeah,
does at Everton,
and same with Robbie Brady as well. I think, and like in fairness, it could have easily been like it could have been easy 3-0 at half time anyway if it wasn't for Creevy and Keller. But I forget who it was. Someone squared that ball to Harry Kane, and Coleman does come across and make a good block. Like don't get me wrong, his strong defensive instincts there. Like he can't help it that. Like
But then Collins and
follow
him were
time
having a go at each other then as well. So it seems to
yeah,
be a
yeah.
case of a lot of players are pointing blame at each other throughout the course of the game, and that's what kind of comes down to again me saying it doesn't look like people know what they're supposed to be doing. So when you're like, he's telling him he should be marking his man, surely they get this information before the game, and you would like to think. But that's why I think with Coleman, he's not a right back. He's not a centre back, and he hasn't played well there he did under Carlo Ancelotti at Everton. He was used in that position a few times, but he's been a right back his whole career. So to just shoehorn him in as a right centre back and expect him to just know. No, I'm not saying Seamus Coleman can't read a game and Seamus Coleman can't develop into a centre back. He could, of course, but naturally it's not his natural position. He normally is a right back or a right wing back. He's normally a wide defender, and that's what he's really good at. And he's really good in the 1v1 battles. And I thought he actually showed good experience against Gordon a couple of times, winning fells and stuff like that. And I know you're not pinning blame on Seamus Coleman, and I'm not sticking up for him in that sense, but I just think it would have suited us way more to go with a 4-3-3, and he could have changed that at half time because Doherty wasn't offering us anything. Robbie Brady is not the answer going forward, and I love Robbie Brady, and I think he's been excellent for us for a number of years. But back in 2017 when Martin O'Neill was our manager, we were trying to shoehorn Robbie Brady anyway, which we could, to try and get him on the pitch, and back then he was brilliant. Now he's not so brilliant because he's playing in the Preston team. Like that's the level he's at now, and unfortunately he's not. You said there about father time catching up on people, and I think it's caught up on Robbie Brady. You can't have him in a defensive position there because he'll get skinned. Albeit if you want to play him as a number 10 or something like that and actually use him for his technical qualities, then fair enough, because that's where he used to play. But that's 7-8 years ago under Martin O'Neill. So why are we reverting back to similar thought processes there? I just don't understand it. Like we had a chance, Darragh O'Shea in the 58th minute pings the ball over to Ogbene, and he does well to draw in the fullback. I think it's Colwell. He crosses it across to Sammy Smolix, and a lot of people obviously from the position thought it was in, just went wide past the post. I think he needs to be hitting the target there. But some signs were encouraging in that aspect, is that we could have rolled over and died, and I know Caoimhín Kelleher really kept us in the game, and I'm not trying to gloss over that, but I think there was certain moments where it looked positive. I think Smolix needs to be played more central going forward, and to stop kind of playing him off little wing positions and stuff like that. I think he needs to be a centre forward, and we need to use him as a centre forward. He constantly is looking to play on the last shoulder of the defence. I saw a couple of times he was trying to be on the last or be on the shoulder of Harry Maguire and trying to get Matt Doherty to play balls in, and you could just see him just getting frustrated because he just was never giving them the ball.
Yeah, like I think if we were to, like, to take some positives from the game, like I said, like, it could have been easy. The players could have been forgiven for, I wouldn't say down in tools, but kind of like definitely just throwing in the towels and thinking like, Grant, that this game is over, and like it could end up being damage limitation kind of job. You say like, look, they went out, had a couple of chances the second half, as you alluded to. That was a really good one for Smiles. I agree with you. Like, given his track record as well, and he's kind of proved himself to be a bit of a natural finisher over the last 2 years, you would kind of expect him to hit the target. Like I thought at real time at first, when it first hit, you think it's the back of the net, but then when I was on the bus coming home last night, I was just watching back highlight clips and different stuff. Like from the TV camera angle, it looked a little bit kind of further away, but again, different perspectives. But no, like it was brilliant balls. You lose to from Darryl O'Shea. Benny done really well. I don't probably get onto it later. I don't fully agree with RT's decision to give him man of the match, but it was definitely one of his better decision making / end product moments from the game yesterday from Chio. And like even then, not long after that, with another similar kind of chance, the ball kind of rolled back the edge of the box for Jason Malumbi, who I think, unlike Sammy Smolks, had plenty of time to take a touch here and kind of calm himself and relax. But I think Jason just kind of panicked and rushed and ended up skying over the bar. When it in the end, it ended up being a terrible effort where it could have actually been a good chance for us. But I'd say, like, look, obviously towards the end of the game, when England brought on the subs, the likes of, particularly the likes of Jared Bowen, really caused real troubles when he came on. Look, lads trying to put their hands up for selections for starting or featuring more against Finland on Tuesday. They could have rolled in a couple of more for a couple of really good saves with Greavy and Keller. And I do think, as much as we can take away positives that we dug in there, we fought, we didn't let it get a humiliation scoreline in the second half. We can't also deny, it does come with a massive disclaimer, that England never left second gear in that second half. Like, there was times before half time, they were literally just standing up, not even walking, just in a standing position and just passing the ball to each other. Like, it was almost like replica of a training game a little bit of times. And I do kind of feel that if we had even ever got back to 2-1, England were like, okay, right, switch up the gears for a few minutes, get back to a 2-goal lead and kill any momentum for this crowd, kill any chance of momentum for this crowd to get behind this team.
Yeah, but I thought what Cassidy did well was he took the emotion out of the game, and they played like it was just a normal game. We were playing like it's do or die. A bit like Everton in a Merseyside derby. That's how I felt it was. Liverpool normally play the occasion, whereas Everton are usually the ones who try to play on emotion, and usually it backfires. I think this was similar in that sense, is that Ireland were trying to play on emotion, try to get the crowd emotional and involved. And England took this thing out by the first goal, and then the second goal really killed off the fans' kind of positivity and nastiness. It turned into again what it's known for lately is a nice place to come and play football. Once we conceded the 2 goals, I do think our biggest problem, and has been our biggest problem, is when we go a goal down. Lately, is we don't even look like getting back into a game. Whereas before, when we used to have, say, Mick McCarthy or Martin O'Neill, when we did concede goals, that was kind of when we started playing, or the shackles were off because we were going to try and play and try and get a drawback. But I haven't seen much of that when we've been playing lately. Now, I hope that's going to change when we play against Greece. But don't forget, Greece had our number twice in the qualifying. So, again, they have a new manager, they have some young players coming through, so it might be a different Greek side. But from our point of view, we need... Well, what their manager's starting to do now at Greece is their manager's starting to pick players who are playing consistently at club level. I know we aren't blessed with a lot of players, a lot of our better players playing at club level, but for us to ever really kind of get to a point, you look at the English team that played, I know people don't really like Harry Maguire, they don't rate him, but I think he's a very good defender. He's experienced, he's played in European Championship finals, World Cup semi-finals, he's played in big games, he's played for a big club in Man United, he's played in Champions League games, and then you've got players like Harry Kane, a world-class player there as well. Like, a lot of their players, even though, and I know we touched on it in our previews, they have world-class players staggered around. We do well to class one of our players at near top level at the moment. And that's where we're really struggling. People just don't seem to get the fact that our players just are not as good as they used to be. And when we used to have a lot of players, it was through the granny rule and so on, so forth. Casey McAteer come off the bench, didn't think he really done anything, but they were trying to say, oh, he was positive or whatever. Again, you were talking about players trying to make a stake for coming in maybe against Greece. I didn't think he'd done anything. So our biggest problem for me is that pivot in midfield. We don't have anybody who can get the ball on the half turn and get the play and start getting us playing further up the pitch, and that's a big worry going forward, because if Josh Cullen's out of the team and we don't have anybody else to do that, and even at that, Josh Cullen's not amazing at that. He is good to just sit in there and kind of pop it about and stuff like that, but we actually need a Declan Rice type of player. I still don't think he's as good as Rodri, but I think he's kind of up there as one of those midfielders, and I think that's where we are really lacking. It's just even having a decent standard sitting midfielder who can receive the ball and just kind of get us playing quickly. And if we have to go route one, we have to go route one. I don't think any of the defenders or any of the substitutes really done much. I think it was a hard game to come into at that scoreline. Even Jake O'Brien, at least he came in and put himself about. I think he stood on Declan Rice. Declan Rice was fuming at him at one point. So it was nice to see someone kind of give him a boot for all the fans, I suppose. But like, I know I'm going on a bit of a ramble here, but I just can't see us turning this momentum into anything at the moment, or lack of momentum. We just don't have anything going for us, whether it's players playing at club level or whatever. If Coleman came through the international break unscathed, he probably would have been starting forever, and the fact is he got injured. He'll be out now. Festi Obazelli's going to come in for Matt Doherty. Do you know what? I would throw Festi in against Greece and I would let Matt Doherty rot on the bench, just purely because I just thought his attitude stank in that game. And it's not a personal attack on him. I was just saying for this game. I know fans have been wanting Matt out for quite a while, but I just thought of this particular game, when you want your experienced players to kind of really turn up and show some leadership, I thought he really didn't. I thought he really let himself down.
Yeah, like I agree with pretty much virtually everything you said there. Like, even just like, I was just going through my head, like, as you were talking about the quality thing, like from our starting team yesterday, like, other than Nathan Collins and Queven Kelleher, does anyone from our team even come into the conversation of potentially even making the England squad? Like, that just tells you how far away, like, in terms of quality, we kind of are and everything else like that. And like, just like, even in terms of turning the corner, like, I'm literally banging the same drum here as yourself. Like, but even just yesterday, as I was saying, like, I know you felt there was a different buzz and different atmosphere. Look, and everyone's entitled to their own opinions and everyone perceives things differently. But I was just a little bit kind of disappointed in Tame with it. Just even in general, like, all week, never really kind of got the real big buzz or real big vibe. Like, the most thing we play England in year in, year out in sport is rugby in the Six Nations. And like, I'm not a big rugby person. I don't think you are either. But you'll always know what's on. You'll always get the vibe and the buzz because it's talked up to the hills and there's a great buzz and atmosphere. And that's probably because we feel we can beat England in rugby, whereas we knew yesterday with less than a 10% chance of even getting the draw. But even like, I was up in Dublin like Friday night. Now, I wasn't out in the city centre. I was out kind of like Phibsborough, kind of Drumcondra, kind of Smithfield area. So not too far still in the city centre, still a built-up area. And like, people didn't even really, one, kind of know the game was on. Two, is it tomorrow? Three, what time is that? One guy asked us, and this was a guy who was at the Bulls Shells game, have we got a new manager? I was like, if you're into League of Ireland football, how the hell do you not know that Ireland have got a new manager? Like, even, I was in looking at two of my Instagrams yesterday and stories and stuff like that. Like, a lot of people like not watch the game. People like at GA matches. Look, it was a nice day. Like, if you're not into football, you're probably not going to put yourself through the torture of 90 minutes of knowing there's misery coming at the end of this game. But like, out having barbecues in the pubs and stuff like that, it's just like, it just feels like, I feel like I've been saying this to my mate, like, every international window, it feels like, oh, Irish football is at a low weight, but it feels like the following window, and every window that follows that, it just seems to get lower and lower. Like, it just seems like the public interest is at an all-time kind of low, that like, people normally might be the casual fan who'll tune in and watch a big game like us playing England. People didn't even bother with that yesterday. As you said, like, we're fans. I can't see where things are going to turn around against Greece on Tuesday, like, being realistic. Like, okay, it's a big step down in opposition. It's our first real test. It's against a team we measure ourselves against. But this is a team last year that twice put us off the park. It was a 2-1 hammering in Athens last year. It was a 2-0 hammering in the Aviva. It was game over half time and second half. like, to be honest, I can't even remember the second half because it was such a non-event. Like, they're coming, as you said, they got a new manager, but they seem to have got the new manager vibe and bounce already, introducing the new players who are playing regularly. They're coming off the back of a spanking 3-0 victory against Finland. It's going to be very, very difficult, and I just can't. I just feel like even that as well, it's going to be a Tuesday game midweek. Like, any kind of optimism buzz has kind of nearly been a little bit sapped out of the crowd. Like, maybe now people might feel like, right, this is where it starts. This is a game where we can believe we can go in with optimism and get the kind of buzz going. But I don't know, just the last couple of years, definitely since the Greece game last year, I'm just gone very, very pessimistic. Like, I don't ever get the blind optimism, the kind of naive confidence that you sometimes get sucked into on the eve of hours before kickoff. I just have like zero expectation, or kind of, I'm definitely not interested there. But in terms of belief, in terms of we can do something, we can pull something out of the bag, it just seems like it's just getting worse and worse. Like,
yeah, well, to end it on a positive, obviously Caoimhín Keller made some good saves towards the end from Jarrett Bowen and Bukayo Saka as well. So he ended up with 7 saves in the game, and he comes out as probably the only positive from the game. But yeah, I suppose we'll leave it there in terms of talking about the match, and just not a whole lot left to say. I'll go back and read some of the comments. Just a lot of people are just saying, David Salt says, as soon as we concede, the heads just drop because there's an acceptance that we won't score. Set pieces were disappointing, particularly that Brady free that we got countered on. Yeah, I'd agree with that. At 1%, the Eagle says at one stage they had 88% of the ball in the first half. Never mind having bad players, how bad you have to be to not be able to pass the ball to each other. This is all the FAI's fault for their poor coaching of young players in Ireland. Irish rugby, these are all kind of the same guy putting in the same comments, but he's making sense. He says Irish rugby players are properly coached from a young age in Ireland. Soccer has to follow rugby, who changed how players were coached in Ireland a number of years ago. Yeah, I would agree with
that's gone down a huge rabbit hole, because rugby has proper setups and proper funding and gets government backing that football doesn't. So we're very much starting behind
I
it.
saw on Twitter that the Minister for Sport and something else, I retweeted it. He was saying that there's going to be a number of investments being made to Irish football, with League of Ireland clubs and so on, facilities and academies and stuff like that. So Thomas Byrne, he said he's committed to unprecedented government investment in sports facilities, including football at all levels. And he says, I can't wait to make announcements in the coming period as the official assessment process concludes. So that's Thomas Byrne, the TD for Minister for Sport and the Gaeltacht. So
this is the same Thomas Byrne that 3 weeks ago in an off the ball interview said that football is the most funded sport in the country and that we have professional women's football teams in this country. So I wouldn't believe one word that comes out of that fella's mouth.
Yeah, well, wait and see.
Yeah, true, but again, I just think I'm sucked of all belief of any optimism at all in general.
Yeah, well, I hear you with that one, but I think if there's a couple more comments coming in before we go. Scuzzy says, how do you guys feel the older players can be moved along? Well, I think there's this might sound weird or contradictory, but I think there's a I can't even speak. How would I say it? I think you can't necessarily get rid of them all, because then you're left with no experienced players. Like, that's why Seamus Coleman's personality around the place is so invaluable, is because whatever you think of Seamus Coleman or his ambition or whatever level he's played at, he's been a Premier League player pretty much his whole career, and that's testament to him and how he's handled himself and his professionalism. And I think he's taken a lot of that from other players, Robbie Keane, even probably Roy Keane that he's worked with in the past as well. These types of players where he takes a lot in kind of what they would have done at an international level, and then you're bringing that to the next batch of players and so on. I think that you take Seamus, Matt Doherty and Robbie Brady out of that squad, who are you left with really, that, you know, has played a number of games or played at a high enough level, you know, because obviously Robbie Brady scored the goal against Italy in Euro 2016, scored against France as well. So again, that that experience of doing that is invaluable. Matt Doherty probably maybe not as experienced, but he's probably the next one in line. And if you take those 3 players out of the team, you're left with a really young, inexperienced team. And you can say whatever you want, like having John O'Shea and stuff like that. You need players on the pitch that have that little bit of experience, and I think kind of getting rid of the older players could be a dangerous thing to do. Not that they've been amazing, so I get your point, but I hope you will take mine in that sense as well. I'm just trying to read it.
I don't think we have a particularly inexperienced team though, because a lot of these players got thrown in maybe earlier than anticipated due to injuries and COVID to the start of the Kenny Rain and stuff like that. Like, even though it takes someone like Nathan Collins, well, it's only maybe 3 years ago since he's made his debut, but he's played a lot of football, a lot of experienced football. He's got a lot of caps on his belt. Like Jason Knight made his debut 4 years ago. Darryl O'Shea, all these players, like, yeah, well, they're still probably the right side of 25. I still don't think we're an inexperienced team. That probably makes another frustrating thing about yesterday, is going back to your point, saying like the players didn't know what to kind of do and looked a little bit disorganized. While yes, it was technically under a new manager, it was still the same coaching staff that they've worked under the previous 4 games and 2 camps with. And it's like there was no one playing yesterday apart from maybe Sammy Smollett that had less than 10 caps, I would say, off the top of my head. So like most of these players are used to playing with each other. So that kind of makes it even worse to think.
I'm not saying that, but not a lot of them have won any big games. I
know they're probably all these players' biggest wins in an Ireland shirt was probably the 3-0 victory against Scotland.
Yeah. So, and I don't think at that stage Nathan Collins was in the team, was he? So
he probably would have been, because he scored in the next game against Ukraine, but there could have been injuries. He could have stepped in, but yeah, he would have been a borderline case of that. Oh yeah, he would have been, because sorry, I just got a flashback. He got man of the match in the previous game against Ukraine at home, so he would have been just starting to come into the team. Yeah.
Yeah, well, that's
when he came off. That's when he came off the back of a good season with Burnley. Yeah.
Well, yeah, that would be.
Yeah.
But anyway, what I mean is you're taking those players who have played in big games, like Seamus Coleman, who's used to the big occasion, with Ireland. Robbie Brady a little bit as well. But that's why a couple of people have messaged me saying it was madness to have Shane Duffy not in the squad, not to play, but not in the squad, because he's been there for a lot of big moments in the last 7-8 years.
He's a good lad as well. Like, so just even for morale, I get what you're saying here now. Yeah.
Yeah, but that's what I'm saying. You need to be careful, kind of just shipping the old. And I know Scuzzy, who made the comment there, it wasn't actually like trying to be horrible about it. But yeah, look, there's a lot of similar comments coming in just about coaching in Ireland and all, so we can't really read them all because we'd be here all night. So I think we'll leave it at that. Huge thanks to everyone who got involved. I see we've got 40 people watching us there at the moment. So yeah, huge thanks to everyone who joined us. Don't forget to like the video. Don't forget to subscribe. I have an off-position preview coming out tomorrow. Recorded earlier with Stephen from Hellas Footy to get an inside scoop on Greece ahead of Tuesday. We're going to have a match preview live again tomorrow around similar times, so stay tuned for that. If you're subscribed, you'll get a notification, and I'm going to be at the press conference tomorrow for Hamer Hallgrimsson's press conference ahead of the game against Greece, his match day -1 press conference. So lots of content still to come out on the channel, so make sure you like and subscribe, and yeah, give it a share to other people as well. Huge thanks to Jer as always for joining me, and yeah, we'll speak to you all soon. Thanks very much for watching, and take care.